On today's World Insight, efforts to shake off global economic shocks with China's targeted policy on growth. The lowdown from an eminent Chinese economist who's a CPPCC member.
The growth rate that we can achieve will be lower.
The Hong Kong government doing its best to stop COVID-19 after months of social unrest. How's HK's economic and political situation shaping up? Answers from an HK SAR insider.
Hong Kong has accumulated quite a lot of experience in dealing with epidemics.
And China-US ties tested by the coronavirus pandemic. Are we going to see cooperation between the two giants?
And welcome to Weigh In 2 Sessions, a special on China's annual political season. I'm Tian Wei in Beijing, in the Great Hall of the People. As the National People's Congress convenes Friday, some key decisions will have to be made on issues related to the nation's security. For example, economic security. Though no specific growth target has been named, it does propose a series of favorable policies for businesses of different scales. It's strategic security with an increasingly complicated international environment, and the health security of its citizens when COVID-19 is still casting a shadow on the world. Today, let's talk to those at the sessions and those who are watching the sessions very closely. First, about the Chinese economy. Meet Professor Bai Chong'en, a CPPCC member and a widely respected economist from China. He's the Dean of the School of Economics and Management from Tsinghua University. Professor Bai, such a pleasure talking to you again this year.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
The biggest question, GDP growth rate, that's the topic every year during the 2 sessions. This year, people are getting more curious with the collapse of the global economy. Tell me more about China's.
Right. This is a difficult question to answer, especially because the COVID-19 disease has spread worldwide, and that affects other countries' economies. The growth rate that we can realistically achieve will be lower than the growth target we set out before the start of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Professor Bai, now one of the crucial issues is how to guarantee that the enterprises are likely to survive and hopefully later thrive. What has China done, do you think, that can be counted as effective so far?
I think that's the most important question to ask. To deal with the pandemic, I think we have to think about the longer term. When suppose the disease become controlled and things get to normal or approaching normal, then whether the current enterprises can survive until then is the most important factor about future growth. And the Chinese government has done a lot of work to help firms that are hit hard by the pandemic. We have been cutting social security contributions. We have been cutting taxes, etc. I think we will cut more taxes, but still a lot more needs to be done. I think one key issue is how well we can target our measures to protect these enterprises. Different enterprises are hit to different extent by the pandemic. Some suffered very much, others don't suffer as much. Some even benefit from business-wise, from the pandemic. So if you offer the same extent of help to all enterprises, then inevitably some will feel inadequate. Others, the help is not really necessary, So we waste our very scarce fiscal resources. I think we need to target better our support measures. And I think different Chinese government ministries have a lot of data available, and we can use these data to design better targeted measures to help these enterprises.
Right. Professor Bai, you talk about targeted and tailored approach and policies for various sectors of China's economy. Can you give us some specific examples?
The demand is not back to normal yet. One possible reason is consumer psychology. During the height of the pandemic, some consumers cannot consume certain goods or services. But after the pandemic gets under control, they still cannot adjust their inertia. So we need to, for these firms, actually we are experimenting with consumption coupons are actually helpful to stimulate the demand for some products. Another group, which doesn't have any demand at all, or have very little demand. For example, the extreme case is a international travel agency. Then for these firms, you don't want them to fail. In this kind of situations, I think we need to give them fiscal subsidy.
There are a lot of people talk about the financial market, the global financial market, ups and downs. Of course, this time, it's a different logic regarding its relations from financial market to the general economy. What is your take about that relationship?
Yeah, the financial market, there are different types of financial markets. For example, a lot of people are very interested in the equity market or the stock market. If you expect to get back to normal or approaching normal, then we are only suffering temporary losses. Then the stock market will take this into account. The financial market tells us that people are still hopeful about the future.
I see. Professor Bai Chong'en, coming from Tsinghua University, well-known economist from China. Really appreciate it, Professor Bai. Thanks. Professor Bai Chong'en, you're watching World Insight from inside the Great Hall of the People. Coming up, the Hong Kong government is doing its best in containing COVID-19 after months of social unrest. How is the economic and political situation inside the SAR? What is at stake with security in Hong Kong? My interview with Tian Wei, a CPPCC Standing Committee member and also the chairman of the West Kowloon Cultural District. The opening ceremony of the National People's Congress has just wrapped up behind me. You can see there are already empty lines of seats. The people's deputies have left the Great Hall of the People with a lot of questions in people's mind, and also answers from the government work report. China is facing big challenges: lingering COVID-19 threats, much heavier economic pressure, and more complicated geopolitics, just to name a few. Fixing them, the challenges and the pains they cause, is important. But as reflected in the ongoing session of the National People's Congress this year, it is not only about the determination to fixing problems, but skillfully applying solutions with precision. Well, how precise? Take a look at the economy. The government work report did not, for the very first time, propose any growth target, but it did propose one after another measures precisely priming to the most crucial areas of the economy for long-term results, like supporting micro, small, and medium-sized companies through tax and fee cuts, and carrying out policies encouraging lenders to give them easier access to a financial lifeline. Meanwhile, more targeted policies are applied to encourage rapid development of online businesses, which has been growing tremendously as a result of social distancing amid the pandemic. See, that's precise fix and bespoke acupunctured support. Another example is poverty alleviation. Though the term Precise poverty alleviation was coined years ago. How to identify those in need and provide them with the exact kind of help and support, making sure financial aid going to the exact needs of the most indigent is a constant task. That task is only becoming more important since the deadline of eliminating absolute poverty in China falls this year. One more example about precision. The National People's Congress, China's top legislature, is working on a decision allowing its standing committee to pass legislation strengthening national security related to Hong Kong SAR. The introduction of the legislation will provide the exact legal basis for concrete actions to check the escalation of violence in Hong Kong as a deterrent and to quickly restore public order. For those who are familiar with the recent developments in Hong Kong, Article 23 of the Hong Kong Basic Law does touch on similar content. However, it is clear over the years that Hong Kong, given its political division, is not able to come to a consensus on this important task. So, based on the Constitution of China, in which Hong Kong is part of, precise legal actions are being discussed to meet that challenge and guarantee national security. So fixing problems, dealing with challenges, China has learned to act with precision, just like doing acupunctures, a popular treatment of traditional Chinese medicine. Insertion of very thin needles through your skin at strategic points on your body to treat pain, to improve overall wellness, and to balance the flow of energy. Clearly, precision is the key. I'm Tian Wei, in front of the Great Hall of the People in Beijing.